Thank you, Ellie. Good evening, everybody. It's always nice to be invited back to someplace. I can remember a time nobody would invite me back to anything. Oh, God. So thank you for the invitation again, Ellie. I look forward to being with you folks tonight and sharing my experience around the topic, which is near and dear to me. And we'll get into that in a moment. But I want to set the theme up. I want to share something that Thomas Merton wrote, and I want you to absorb it and allow it to go into your body because I think this is so significant. It can change lives and hearts tonight. He wrote, "For me to be a saint means to be myself. We discover our true identity in God when we no longer pretend to be anything other than who we are." Okay, so good evening. I am an alcoholic, a member of a group called Agape Group, and my name is John. And to give you a little background, I'm 74 years old, single, a father of 2 adult children, and a grandfather of 3 beautiful and loving granddaughters. As Ali said, I'm in my 50th year of sobriety. And many of you know me through the workshop, Expanding God Consciousness, which I did here on Monday nights back in the later part of the winter and early spring. And here's something interesting. Because of the success of that workshop, through the direction of Ali and his whole team, by the way, and the audience that participated in this, I'm writing my first book on expanding God consciousness. I also want to tell you that I'm a mental health coach, a positive psychology practitioner, and a founder of Freedom Hour, a new community of well-being. If you want to follow me on Instagram, look it up. You can find me in prayer and meditation series, and you wish to subscribe to the blog in which I write once a week around things that are important to well-being. You can go to freedomhour.org and you can sign up for the blog. Or you can actually go on Facebook and like and follow me on Freedom Hour. So here's a cautionary note. Most of us suffer from an all or nothing thinking. And the risk is what I'm about to share with you is all that I did. And this, of course, is a fallacy. I've been asked generously to share on the 11th step. So I pulled out that experience in the broader context or experience of what God has given me. But this is only a part. And the risk, I guess, the downside consequence perhaps is over-spiritualization, the work that needs to be done both in the physical world and in the spiritual world. The spiritual world is funny. It requires our hands and feet. It requires our study. It does require us to be involved in both ends. That's why we study the big book. And not that think that God is going to teach us the big book unless we study it. So tonight, I've chosen something out of the 12 and 12. And it speaks about, those of us who come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without it than refuse air, food, or sunshine. Imagine living a life without food, air, or sunshine. And for the same reason, when we refuse air, light, or food, the body suffers. There's a direct consequences to that. The body needs nutrition, air, and sunshine. So when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds and our emotions and our intuitions of vitally needing support. So this is important if you believe the author and what he's written. As the body can fail its purpose for the lack of nourishment, so can the soul. and the need of light, of God's reality, the nourishment of strength and the atmosphere of his grace. We need it. To a great extent, the facts of AA life confirm this ageless truth. It's not a new idea. There is a direct linkage to self-examination, meditation, and prayer. Taken separately, these practices can bring about much relief and benefit. But when they are logically related and interwoven, they are an unshakable foundation for life. So when you hear those sentences and paragraphs, what are you thinking? Go inside and give some reflection for the moment. What were you thinking? Were your mind somewhere else and kind of wandering? Were you in the past? Were you in the future? Were you present? What's your experience about prayer and meditation, or the lack of it? Do you agree with these sentences, or do you forget sometimes? And how does this relate to you and your practices? Take a little bit of a strength inventory at the moment. Relate it to you. Have you not gotten around to creating that habit of daily prayer and meditation, or have you? Are you sometimes on and sometimes off? So, wherever you are, you're in a perfect place, by the way. If your mindset is fixed, you may be judging yourself accordingly. And if your growth mindset, you may decide to grow in daily practices of prayer and meditation. So when we approach this new habit of prayer and meditation, our mindset becomes important. And if you're already in the daily routine tonight, may be an excellent night to recommit to an expanded approach. So tonight, let's do some deep work together. What do prayer and meditation do for me? So I want to share a little bit about my experience with it. Imagine floating on an ocean of love, belonging, forgiven, and loved. I'm being directed and led by the loving heart of God. All is well, and I accept myself as I am. I'm taught to be open and ready to receive the many gifts God presents me. Notice all these descriptions and labels I just given you have nothing to do about having or doing. They are all about being. They're all intrinsic. They're all internal. In prayer and meditation, what it does happen, it teaches my heart to be malleable, to be kind, to be empathetic and understanding, to be loved and loving. And as I'm prepared for the day, in meditation, I wake up and become aware. See, meditation is all about being in the present moment. It's the practice of focusing and paying attention and being in tune with the experience that I'm having. And as I use my mantra is Maranatha, an Aramaic prayer phrase that says, "Come, Lord, come, Lord." And I break it up into the syllables of Ma, Ra, Na, Tha. And as I continue to repeat that prayer phrase, I'm in the present moment. When I find myself drifting, I don't judge or criticize myself or get angry or frustrated. I just gently and kindly go back to the prayer phrase. So I'm examining and curious and not condemning or judging myself. See, this is a beautiful piece about meditation and prayer. I lay down those harsh tools of self-judgment and self-criticism, condemning myself, saying to myself, I'm not good enough. Why me? And I'd live in understanding. I'd be able to move out into the world with understanding and recognize that whatever I'm experiencing is okay. Whatever I'm feeling is okay. That is part of a shared humanity. See, God is breaking my heart open. It's making me realize what reality really is. And I am a witness to understanding and knowing I share these thoughts and feelings with humanity. I neither fight, flee, or freeze from my experience, nor do I dualistically label them as good or bad, positive or negative. I have become an interested observer, a newspaper reporter, if you like, or a curious scientist, watching the experiences that I'm having, and I'm eager to learn. I'm in a life apprenticeship, never sure of mastering anything. I watch and see, wondering, how would the master be in this moment? I've learned to care for myself. I am my own best friend. I learned to care for others and have a deep desire to connect. And I have a deep desire to please God and have a relationship with this higher power. The grace of God has restored me, friends, and much more. I've been given a lot. I've been given emotional sobriety, what Wilson calls the next frontier. I intuitively learn and have learned skills to know how to handle negative thinking and critical self-talk, and how to process uncomfortable and dark emotions. Learn to be vulnerable and authentic, and all the while realizing that I reach out to care for my brothers and sisters and to express these strengths that God has given me, and make connections with people, have conversations about recovery, about transformation, about what's possible in this program called Alcoholics Anonymous. And I come to realize it's just about progress. It's not about perfection. Just simply step by step, inch by inch, I move ahead according to what God bestows on me. And when I fall, or fail rather, I don't condemn myself. You see, prayer and meditation is easy to let go of at different times. I've talked to lots of people who, for a period of time, prayed daily and meditated, then life gets in the way and they drop it and they should all over themselves. And what I would say to you, if you're in that position, you're okay. You're okay. All you need to do is to pick up that commitment once again tonight and spend some time with your God. So I like to tell you a couple of stories. I love stories. And I like to reach back in human history to pick out a couple of stories. They're biblical in nature, but this has nothing to do with religion, by the way. It's not about religion. It's about the human drama. It's about what can I learn from people that have lived eons ago? And do they have the same kinds of behaviors that I have? So I'll ask you to put aside temporarily any bias or prejudice. And remember, there's value in this story. Now, I have two stories to share with you. The first one is about Abraham, a giant figure in history. And it's called the father of three faiths, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian. So he's a larger than life figure in the history of the people's journey. He was visited by three strangers one day, and Abraham recognized them as God. It's called theophany. Theophany is the appearance of God. But pay attention to what happens next. Abraham realized that this was God paying him a visit, and he extended his hospitality immediately. He didn't ask his servants to look after the strangers. No, 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 no. He dropped everything and focused on the strangers. Abraham, I have to tell you, was a rich and busy man, yet he dropped all concerns and tasks to be with the strangers. Interesting, isn't it? How he reacted in the presence of God. The lesson for me is, how can I imitate Abraham? Next is another story about two sisters, Martha and Mary, sisters of Lazarus. And when Jesus and his disciples visited, Martha prepared the food and drinks and offered her hospitality to that great rabbi. Mary sat at the foot of Jesus and didn't help Martha. And you know what happened? Martha complained. She complained to Jesus because she was doing all the work and Mary was doing nothing, according to Martha. And Jesus responded, he said, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. You see, Martha was preoccupied and was divided attention. She was concerned about the worries and the meeting of tasks and obligation, which every one of us face in this life. And yet for Mary, what was important was to be with this person, this God, this rabbi. Again, a great story of two different people approaching God in different ways. See, the story teaches me how I am to relate to prayer and meditation. It gives me some insight in terms of what the opportunity exists when prayer and meditation. You know, turning away from prayer and meditation oftentimes isn't a direct rebuke, but a preoccupation of our busyness. We may think prayer and meditation is one of many things to do. And how can you fit in your holy hour? Prayer and meditation are the source and summit of our power. This encounter alone is unum necessarium. It's a Latin phrase, the one necessary thing. So when we're planning our day, we're looking to see what we could fit in with prayer and meditation. Think about Mary and Abraham. Think about the priority. I'll give you another Latin phrase from Thomas Aquinas, ipsum esse, that we're talking about the very existence of God. Remember Bill Wilson writes, we all need the light of God's reality, the nourishment of his strength, an atmosphere of his grace. To a great extent, the AA light confirms this ageless truth. Wilson was pointing to these things that I'm sharing with you tonight, the necessary work in prayer and meditation. You know, what's interesting in the Bible, I'll just give you one other thing in the Bible. It calls evil diabolum, and that's a Greek word meaning scatter or divide. It has to do with weakness. It has to do with separation. See, when we sit down and pray and meditate and being preoccupied with a host of other things to do, we are in fact scattered. And what we've done, friends, is that God is one of many things that we must do today. And it isn't. It stands alone. Prayer and meditation is the one necessary thing. And from that point, all our other activities fall under. So it's easy, and I get it. It's easy to be concerned about taking the children to school, for instance, as an example, or running out to work, meeting somebody, whatever the tasks or the appointments or responsibilities and obligations are. It's easy to let go of this holy hour. But we rob ourselves. We rob ourselves of the opportunity to receive the power and grace of God. You know, I also have a busy life, and sometimes I get pulled away from my daily rituals of step 10 and 11. And I remind myself these two Bible stories, they come in handy for me. They're like directions, they're like a recipe. And the necessary food and sunshine of my spirit needs to greet my responsibilities for the day. So this hour that I have gives me the strength and the power to deal with everything that I face in the day. So when I miss these opportunities, prayer and meditation, my power or resilience gets reduced. And I find myself to be a little more impatient, a little bit more unkind, a little bit more self-centered. So I desire to have the motivation of God's love with me in all my activities. And if I turn away from this sacred opportunity, I'm handicapped or crippled to meet my obligations. And Wilson compares the needs of the body to the needs of the soul. So we need to reorder our priorities. Here's what I want to share with you too. What happens when I fail? And you hear the word I'm saying, when I fail, not if I fail. When I fail or skip prayer meditation for any host of reasons, it's easy to let up on it, by the way, because it has no immediate consequence. And I'm also so attuned to the outside world. I'm very clear about my responsibility and obligations and things I need to complete each and every day. And somehow, if I can just skip the prayer and meditation, I can get on to the work that I need to get done. And for me, I like to use this metaphor. It's a difference between taking a prescription for an infection versus a vitamin pill to prevent illness. You see, I'm much more aware of taking an antibiotic for an infection, and I'm have a greater risk of not taking that vitamin pill because I don't have any illness in the moment. That's what prayer and meditation is like. And I need the help of God to pull and draw me in. I can't do it on my own because I get lost in this world. So I pray. I pray for the awareness. I pray for the invitation to come and see. I allow God to take me, and I surrender, because my soul always needs the light of day. What happens when I fall off prayer and meditation? I think this is worth talking about. Do I should on myself? Critically judge myself? Feel guilty? Remind myself how often I fail? No. I don't believe God wants me to do that. I just resume my practice, that's all. There's nothing else left to do. If I have a growth mindset, I focus on the process and learn from the experience. Looking to understand, friends, not to judge. The growth mindset encourages me to continue to make an effort to create the habit of prayer and meditation because I'm learning. It's all about the process. And I need to be kind and patient to myself, which will encourage me to continue to form the habit of prayer and meditation. If, however, I have a fixed mindset, I look at the outcome only. Did I succeed or fail? Now, these are called performance goals. The fixed mindset has many setbacks, by the way, like self-criticism, judgment, lower self-esteem, and depression, and not feeling very good about myself. So I'm more likely to move away from prayer and meditation because I don't want to feel bad about myself. So I'm reluctant to back into the habit, knowing full well that I can't succeed. And therefore I drop the practice altogether. So friends, what is the outcome I can expect from prayer and meditation? Is it the golden ticket to feeling good? What happens when I don't feel good after prayer and meditation? Am I bad or doing something wrong? Oh, addicts, we addicts, minds look for problems when there isn't a problem. Prayer and meditation isn't a straight line upward, friends. Sometimes prayer and meditation is like lifting a manhole cover off the unconscious and releasing suppressed thoughts and feelings. These experiences can be painful, but stay the course. When these occasions occur, shame is being released in the light of day. It's a necessary process. And when we're being silent, when we're being prayerful, that's when this stuff comes out of our subconscious or the dark corners of our mind, where we've been suppressing these things for years. So be prepared to be uncomfortable at times. You're not doing anything wrong. You're healing. You're healing in a deep level, not in a conscious level, like in a cognitive way, but we're healing deep in our souls and our hearts. We're releasing this mess that we created and can't get to directly. See, prayer and meditation, we do heal. So try not to set expectations on outcomes of prayer and meditation. Be ready to be in the experience of it. Accept whatever experience that you're having as the right experience for you. Going back to that original paragraph, it's about Thomas Merton. Be yourself. Honor your experience that you're having. No matter if it's uncomfortable or if it's comfortable. It all has purpose. Just allow yourself to be in the presence of your God, being healed, given the grace, given the love, which we all so desperately want and desire. We alcoholics are funny people. We think we're doing the work, but God's grace pulls us into this relationship. Our job is to surrender to the power so that we have power to take on our daily triumphantly. It's God's power that encourages us, that strengthens us, that has us be courageous in the light of what's in front of us. The nourishment of the soul is prayer and meditation. This daily action is to fortify our love, grace, and power to relate to ourselves lovingly and to others and to God's universe. See, we need to be renewed and restored and made whole, which we can never do by our own resources, by the way. I'm always amazed at myself, thinking that I can think my way out of my problems, using the same organ, the mind, that got me into this situation. There's only one power, unum necessarium. May you find him now. I'm going to give you a little more Latin. You know, it's funny about Latin. I got kicked out of high school in a Latin class, and I was ready to punch the teacher in my rebellious and bullying teenage years. Hated Latin. You know, was the kind of student that said, why do I have to learn this stuff with dead language? And I grown to love it. St. Augustine, ama Deum et fac quod vis. Love God and do whatever you want. Love God. And the way we can show how we love God is in our holy hour of prayer and meditation. Friends, my prayer for you this evening is that you drink from a fire hose of God's power, love, and grace. Be empowered, motivated, and successful in your day-to-day experiences. Be grateful for what God continues to provide. And don't miss an opportunity to have an extraordinary encounter with God. Be available. Don't be divided like Martha. Be like Abraham. Be your best friend. Be kind to yourself. Friends, I have to tell you, I listen to heartache every day from an AA member. Many of them are critical of themselves, judge themselves harshly. And that is a hard way to live. I know it. I was there. I know how hard it is. Turn the switch if you can and learn to have self-compassion. Everything in your life will be lighter for you. You see, we all fall short. God has already forgiven us. So remain focused each day, plug into that electric power of our God, imitate Mary and Abraham, and be attentive to the opportunity to be with the creator of the universe. This talk has no meaning unless you commit to a new modified action. You see, my reason for being here is to encourage you to do one thing. And I'm not saying what one thing is. It's entirely up to you and God. But commit to an action. And don't leave this meeting tonight thinking whether it's a nice talk or a bad talk. Leave the meeting tonight armed with an action from God. And if you would be generous enough to communicate with me what that action was and what difference God made in your life as a result of committing to that action. Friends, that's the end of my talk. I'm a little bit light, but it's better than being a little bit long. I'll pass it on to you.